Hey everybody, it's Allie, and welcome to our Y&R chat for Sunday, January 29th. Adam and Sharon, my God, my God. I almost can't express to you the depths of the sexualness that we experienced this week. It was intense. Was it good for you guys? Because it was very, very good for me. It was, I mean, the thing is Adam and Sharon, when they're together, it's, there's just so much in the air, you know? It's forbidden, it's naughty. They're not supposed to be there together. Every time Adam and Sharon are together, it's pretty much them against the world. It's Adam and Sharon versus the world. They're not supposed to want each other. They're not supposed to be attracted to each other. Sharon wasn't supposed to go against Victor's word and tell Adam that he was walking headfirst into a bear trap. And Adam realizes what a huge sacrifice that was for her, and there was just nothing else to do. Nothing more to do than to have sex. It was a necessity. He had to say thank you. I mean, you know, flowers, candy, that's just not good enough. I mean, she saved him from potentially years in prison. I mean, really the only appropriate thank you was deep, deep, dirty sex in Victor's office, and it was dirty too. There was so much energy. It was like just so passionate. Sharon is like, after she's revealed this truth to Adam, it slowly starts to sink into her what true danger she is in herself. She has now sacrificed a part of herself and her safety and her child's safety in order to keep Adam out of jail, and it sort of starts to realize it with, you know, she starts to realize it and starts to wonder, like, okay, what am I gonna do now? I get the feeling that her telling Adam was, to some extent, somewhat impulsive. I mean, I think she tried to think it through for as much time as she had, but she really had to make this snap decision between Victor and Adam, and she decided to go with Adam and tell him the whole truth, everything that she knew, all of the information that she was privy to as a result of being the new Mrs. Victor Newman. So she realizes that this is putting her in a situation, and she's starting to sort of talk it through with Adam about what she's gonna do, how she's gonna get her way out of this, how she's gonna explain her way out of this. And she was, I think, just about to turn away and walk out the door when Adam just, like, he like lunges toward her. He actually grabs a chair, knocks it over, like knocks over this chair to get to her. He kind of like pushes her down, like onto Victor's desk. She like falls back on to Victor's desk. He like takes his arm, sweeps everything off the desk, and then kind of picks her up and hoists her onto the desk, wherein they start to frantically, as if they were the last two people on the freaking Titanic, they start to make out and just start to go at it. And the sequence, the lovemaking sequence, I thought was very interesting. Y&R sort of did this, like, sometimes it was fast forwarded, you know, like when they were kissing they looked like they were going at it really, really fast, and then in other parts of the sequence they slowed it down and it was slow motion, and I thought that was so representative of everything that their relationship is. In so many ways it has, you know, been fast forwarded, and it's like fast love, and in so many other ways it's like slow and passionate. So I thought captured both the heat and the passion that they have for each other, but also at the same time the deep romantic love connection that there is there together, and I enjoyed both of those immensely. I have to tell you, I watched the scene, the whole sequence, with my mouth wide open. I mean, literally, I'm looking at the screen like, oh my God, oh my God. It was so, oh God, it was so good. It was so good. Just to be completely full disclosure here, I totally watched it 3 times. I watched the entire lovemaking sequence a total of 3 times, but it was for research, you know. I had to watch it in order to be able to fully bring to you an analysis scene, you know. It wasn't just about my own pure pleasure. No, I did it for you. I watched Adam and Sharon's lovemaking scene 3 times for you. Just so you know. And it was so just absolutely incredible. Like, they got nasty all over Victor's office. I mean, the entire time, like, Sharon's got her arms thrown around Adam, and you can just see her big, huge, freaking engagement ring rock, shining, glittering in the lights as she's got her arms thrown around another man, or the ultimate other man. It was so, it was just crazy. I mean, like, they absolutely did it all around Victor's office. I mean, they did it on Victor's desk, they did it up against the window, they did it on the couch. Like, they completely ruined Victor's office for anyone else. Like, Victor's office will never, ever be the same. I don't think I'm ever going to look at Victor's office the same way again. Forget it. I thought the against the window scene was really, really hot. Or Sharon was, like, pressed up against the window and Adam comes up from behind her. Ugh. They really made the most of that one situation. I hope the door was locked, because anybody could have walked in. I hope Connie wasn't sitting out in the reception area. Actually, Connie's probably been long gone, but oh Lord, I can just imagine the moans of passion echoing through the halls of Newman Enterprises. Oh. It was so good. And really, I think it's layers. It's layers of passion. It's not just the lovemaking, because there's also this element of realizing that Sharon was the one to save Adam this time. I mean, there's been this pattern throughout Sharon's life of her always being the damsel in distress. You know, she was always the one that needed saving, whether it was by Nick or Jack or, all of the other men in her life have always made her feel like she was the one that needed saving. And now here is an opportunity for her to save Adam. And even, I think Sharon was having a conversation, or I think Nick was having a conversation about it later in the week, and was mentioning that why do you continue, I think he was asking Sharon, like, why do you continue to try to save him? What makes you think that you can save him? And she just basically said that she realizes that there is more to him. It's not just what you see is what you get. She realizes that there's something more, and I love the role reversal. I just think it just gives it something different that none of Sharon's relationships have really ever had. And Adam is a relatively new character on the show, and it's just it's unique that she seems to be the only person that's able to draw that sensitivity out of him. It is utterly enjoyable to watch. I really enjoyed it. But it didn't take long before the consequence started sinking in. I knew it was going to be like tops 5 minutes of pure pleasure and then moving on to the consequence, and it happened pretty rapidly. Sharon had to go home the next morning. I mean, they spent the whole night. Oh, by the way, I loved the line, like right before they started making love, where Adam said, just don't go anywhere, stay here with me, we'll figure it out together. Again, it was Adam and Sharon versus the world. We'll figure it out, whatever it is, just stay here with me, we'll put our brains together. And that was sort of what Adam had said to her the New Year's Eve that he went to her house all drunk, and he was saying, we'll figure out a way around this faith custody situation. We're two smart people, we'll put our heads together and we'll figure it out. And that was exactly what it was this time too. They stayed the night at Victor's office, and Sharon had to do the long, awkward walk of shame home the next day, opened up the door into the broad light, and who's sitting there in the chair but her husband, Victor, her husband of what, 2 days? 3 days? He's sitting there, and he knew exactly what had happened. I mean, by that point, the news had already reached Victor that the Beauty of Nature SEC scandal, the deal, the trap deal had not gone through. So Victor knew that, and I think put 2 and 2 together pretty much immediately as to what had happened. I mean, Sharon's probably the only thing that would have stopped Adam from going through with that deal. So there's this awkward morning after moment. I mean, Sharon probably still has Adam's sweat all over her, and she's looking Victor in the eye, and it was just awkward. I think he even said to her, I mean, like a daughter, like a father would say to a daughter, he was like, "Where were you last night?" Ugh. It was so awkward, but of course, we all know Victor got kind of deterred right after that. But you know, they eventually did end up having a conversation, and I have to say, I was I was surprised. I wasn't expecting what I got. I thought that Victor would be furious with Sharon. She just blew his plans. Not only that, but I mean, she's not really acting like Mrs. Victor Newman if she's sleeping with his son in his office. So I was very surprised, but Victor was very calm. You know, I think she actually was the one that ended up saying, "So you're not mad at me, you're more just disappointed in me." Again, total father-daughter type of connection. Only Victor is never half this understanding with his own children. I mean, Sharon, his wife at the time, totally kind of screwed him over, like cost him probably $1 billion business. I mean, because of all this going down, because the SEC didn't intervene, the Beauty of Nature sale was legitimate. So Sharon just cost Victor probably $1 billion or so. I mean, what did the lawsuit that Victoria and Nick and Abby filed against him cost? He didn't speak to them for months. And Sharon just did what she did, and he's just like, meh, you know. He just works his way around it. I was very surprised. Were you guys surprised with how totally calm Victor was for the situation? And maybe the only reason was that Victor was looking for a way out too. That's the only thing I can think, is that, you know, I'm sure he wasn't happy with what Sharon did, but I think it allowed them to arrive at this, you know, mutual decision, mutual realization that the marriage is really a sham, and it was time to have it annulled. So, because I think Sharon just looked at him dead in the face and said, "So what are we going to do about this?" And Victor said, "We're going to get this marriage annulled." And that's exactly what they're getting ready to do, which is good. I was wondering if that was going to happen, and I was not believing that it was going to happen right away. So I am happy to see that we're going to be done with this sham marriage for now. I'm really, really pleased about that. The one little interesting tidbit here is that Victor sort of thinks that Sharon's involvement with Adam is going to lead right back down the road of Nick taking custody of Faith away, which is clearly not what Sharon wants. That's the reason Sharon has been staying away from Adam for as long as she has. And so Victor kind of intimates that, like, you know, your relationship with Adam, go ahead and have it, but guess what? I'm not going to be stopping Nick this time from taking custody of Faith. And I think that probably would have really bothered Sharon. That probably would have been a real concern for Sharon if it weren't for the fact that she had already seen a lawyer. I think, you know, I don't remember if it was before or after she slept with Adam. Oh, maybe you guys can remind me that. But I think it had to have been before she even slept with Adam. She went to see Avery, and she asked her if she would be willing to talk to Nick on her behalf, which Avery actually agreed to do. Surprising, because when Sharon asked Avery to intervene previously, Avery wouldn't do it, probably because she and Nick were involved at the time, but Avery did agree to talk if Nick decides that he wants to press for full custody of Faith, then Avery said that she would talk to him, which made Sharon feel reassured. I don't know why that made her feel so reassured. I think that Sharon going back to Adam at this point is going to continue to infuriate Nick. I don't think there's any reason to believe that this time it's going to be any different. So that was one thing that concerned me a little bit about Sharon's actions, was that I do still feel like her involvement, this involvement with Adam, is putting her relationship with Faith at risk, which is surprising to me because she's done so much to try to keep her child close to her, and she's stayed away from Adam for weeks. She's got still got this restraining order against him, and now suddenly she's just decided that, you know, it wasn't enough just to alert him about Victor's plan. You know, she did become involved with him, but she did mention while she was in, who was she talking? I think she was talking to Victor, actually, during their kind of final conversation as husband and wife. She said to him, you know, I'm not stupid, and I'm not really thinking that a relationship with Adam is going to be an easy road, but we have a connection. But I still sort of got the sense from her that she wasn't really planning on pursuing some kind of traditional relationship with Adam. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, it's always going to be a problem. The situation with Faith is always going to be a problem. I mean, in real life, honestly, if this were real life, Sharon should stay as far away from Adam as possible. I hate to say it, but I mean, you know, you cannot tell me that if you had a girlfriend who had this guy who stole her baby, that you would advise her to keep hanging out with him or to keep seeing him. I mean, you know that in reality, Adam is a bad idea. Adam is a dark character. He's done some really shady things, unnecessary things to people. Ashley, Sharon, and in reality, there's no reason why she should give him a second chance, no matter how good the sex is. Again, if your friend was falling for this, you would tell her to stay as far away from that creep as she possibly could. But still, in the daytime world, it's just so damn hot that we can't help but feel compelled. But again, the problem with Faith, the fact that he stole her baby, that he stole Sharon's baby, is always going to be an issue for them, and I really hate it. I hate it. I wish that had never happened. I mean, I hated the storyline at the time, but now that there's this intense connection between Adam and Sharon, I just wish that never would have happened. And I wonder if the writers kind of regret writing that, because it really, no matter how good Adam ever becomes, no matter what he does, he will always be the guy that stole Sharon's baby, let her think that her baby was dead, along with Nick, and gave it to someone else. There's just no erasing that. It's just never going to go away. Adam will always be a baby stealer. No matter how hot he is or how misunderstood he is, that's always going to be the case. The only thing I can think that's going to allow Adam and Sharon to actually pursue a relationship would be if Sharon was pregnant. I mean, they've had sex twice now recently. She's getting the annulment from Victor. And I would not, a couple of people have mentioned this, I would just not at all be surprised if Sharon wound up pregnant. I don't know how many more baby-making years Sharon's got, but this might be the last one. I just have a feeling, because think about it. All of a sudden Sharon becomes pregnant with Adam's baby, and they have to be together. All of a sudden the argument about, you know, like for instance, Nick's argument about, I can't have him anywhere near my daughter, or you shouldn't, you know, be anywhere near him, becomes a little bit softer, becomes a little less loud when he's the father of her baby. If Adam becomes the father of her child, then that's plenty of darn reason for them to be having contact together. Undeniable reasons for them to have contact together. And part of me wonders is if both of them kinda want that to happen. It's a solution. So now that Victor's out of jail and out of this absurd marriage to Sharon, thank goodness, he wants to be with Nikki. He's been wanting to be with Nikki this entire time. He's been longing to be with Nikki this entire time. And, oh man, I long for Nikki and Victor to be together in a healthy way. In a permanent way, in a way where they will no longer be ripped apart. But, I mean, you know, Victor never gives her full disclosure, you know? I mean, he gave her the whole be patient thing, and then invites her over to the ranch and starts kissing on her and making love to her and everything. And you know, he's surprised somehow that Nikki isn't totally responsive right away. I mean, in Victor's head, He's always in control, and as soon as he decides that it's okay for them to be together, then they're together. You know, the only real obstacle in their relationship is ever Victor. Victor knows at any point he wants Nikki, he can have her back. And it just, I don't know, just something, even as much as I love Nikki and Victor, just something about it really, that really bugs me. That he just, it's like, I know he loves her, but damn, sometimes he just don't respect her, and it bothers me, you know. Victor, you can't just toy with our emotions. You can't just, like, push her away for weeks and weeks and weeks and treat her like crap, and then all of a sudden expect for her to come running back into your arms, you know? We don't work like that. Women don't really work like that. And, you know, I think that I worry about Nikki getting hurt as a result of this relationship. And, I mean, she's constantly getting hurt. You know, it's constantly her getting hurt. I can't remember who made the comment this week that, you know, Victor is always, it was, I think maybe Ashley made the comment that Victor is always getting other people dragged into his plans, and other people end up getting hurt, and it does seem like Nikki is always the one that gets hurt the most. So I'm glad that Nikki and Victor are back together. I can't help it. My heart lies with them, but at the same time, I have some reservations. And I'm just going to wait and see how he acts. I'm going to wait and see how this pans out. I don't know. I'm going to be annoyed. I don't even know if they can ever be happy together without having problems. But we're going to see. I'm with it. I just wonder how long it'll be before he's proposing to Nikki. I mean, what, you think next week he'll probably be proposing to Nikki? I just hope that he better not give Sharon, or give Nikki Sharon's wedding ring, because Sharon gave it back to him. I think Sharon, like, begrudgingly pulled that huge old rock off of her finger and gave it back to him, which I'm surprised she did. I mean, I would think she for the job she did, she at least earned the ring, right? I don't know. Maybe Victor can trade it in and get some of his money back, but if he decides to propose to Nikki, there better be a new ring. That's the most important thing. If he tries to recycle it, I'm gonna be annoyed. But, you know, it feels like we always end up at the same place, back at the same place with Victor. He's now back at Newman. It didn't take him, like, I think he took one night at home to kind of rest and relax, and the next morning he was back behind his desk in his office at Newman Enterprises, wondering what this crusty stuff is all over his desk and his couch and his window, and like, what is all that? It's like someone had a sex fest in my office here. oh man. But that spells bad news for Adam. Of course, you know, Adam didn't end up walking into Victor's trap. And so Victor's going to make him pay in other ways. So as soon as Adam comes into work the next day, he sees Victor sitting at what was his desk, and Victor has written out a letter of resignation for Adam. Just short and sweet, wants him to sign it, like, okay, Adam, I'm out of jail, I'm back, we all know what just happened here, time for you to get out. And Adam has been anticipating this for weeks. That's why he was at Tucker's door begging for a job. He knew that as soon as he heard rumblings that Victor was going to be getting out of jail, Adam started scrambling to make plans for this. And so as soon as Victor busted out that letter of resignation, Adam just looks at it like, no, I'm not going to resign. You know, I get the feeling that probably if Victor were to fire him, you know, who knows, he'd probably have to pay him a large chunk of money, or who knows how the contract was drawn out. But Adam's just like, no, I'm not going to let you fire me. And so, or I'm not just gonna walk away. So rather than firing him, Victor decides, all right, I'm gonna keep you on at the company, but it says in the contract that I get to make sure that you work from any location of my choosing. So follow me. And Adam follows Victor to where his new office will be. And I'll give you a clue. The sign on the door says men. I laughed so hard this week when Victor led Adam right into the men's room. There's a desk sitting right in the middle of it with Adam Newman on a nameplate and all of his stuff at this, just a desk basically right in the middle of the men's room. There's like Adam's desk, a nice chair, wall of urinals. Oh, so disgusting. But hilarious, like, as soon as, you know, Adam tried to take it in stride. I mean, Victor here is, just getting one on him. It was magnificent. But Adam's trying to take it in stride, so he's like, all right, I'll say I'll have my bathroom desk. That's fine. You're not gonna can me. So Adam tries to take it, and Victor's like, have fun, he leaves, and this other associate, this other, like, executive comes walking into the bathroom thinking he's gonna take his newspaper probably and sit in there on the toilet for a while, and Adam's just like, yeah, in there with his desk. I mean, it's so humiliating. Adam was the CEO of this company, and Victor just had this set up. I mean, Victor knew Adam wasn't just gonna go away, so he sets up this humiliating scenario for him, and I just, it was so good. Adam did a really good job of keeping his poker face on, but you know, nobody wants to go from being the CEO of the company to sitting in the men's room. So, Adam heads right over to Tucker's office, and he says, basically, I know you're involved in this whole thing setting me up, but, you know, we have stuff in common still, so why don't you just give me a job? You know, Adam doesn't want to sit in the men's room at Newman, so why don't you just give me a job, Tucker? And Tucker's response at first is very antagonistic, but then Tucker offers Adam a job, only the job is that he has to be a spy over at Newman. So basically, Adam is supposed to continue working at Newman, getting company secrets, figuring stuff out, and then he'll just report it back to Tucker. And Adam seemed to be like, okay, he was saying, okay, I'll think about it. But I'm thinking, that is ridiculous. If Tucker just set you up for, you know, whatever scandal, you know, the scandal with Beauty of Nature, what makes you think that he's not setting you up now? You can't just go work for two companies and sell secrets back and forth. You can't just do that. It's called corporate espionage. Like, it's that, if anything's illegal, that's illegal. Adam, you can't just walk right out of one trap and into another. Really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, YNR. Thank you for finally clearing up all of the dust of the cloud of dusty suspicion and question marks that were surrounding Diane's freaking murder. The storyline that went on from July to January. Thank you for finally taking the time to put the pieces together for me, because it was just when I had given up. I mean, last week I was like, well, I guess that's it. This is all we're ever gonna know about it, and I'm just gonna accept that YNR is never gonna resolve it. And finally this week they actually really wrapped it up. It took them like over probably 20 weeks to get here, and one episode, I think, to wrap it all up. It's still ridiculous, but I've talked enough about that. There's nothing left to do than just, you know, other than just go over, you know, the evidence. I'm glad that they did it. Again, I wasn't expecting it, so it was very, straight out of Clue. You know, it was an episode of Clue. Ronan called everybody together, all of the usual suspects, everyone involved with the case, everyone who was at the park that night, everyone who had anything to do with anything got called into Ronan's little office with the DA, and Ronan just went by pillow by pillow and talked about each of the suspects and how they all fit into the puzzle, and it was very like, gentlemen, turn out your pockets, ladies, empty your purses, whoever has the gun is the murderer. It was just very that. I'm just so glad. I'm just so glad that they finally did it. I mean, Ronan was pretty much asking, questions. He doesn't believe that anyone in the room actually, had, anything major to do with or premeditated with killing Diane. The video footage pretty much shows who killed Diane, Nikki. But what they were really trying to clear up was why did you impede the investigation? If none of you other guys killed her, then why did you do such a good job of trying to throw me off the case? And, person by person, he went through and they all had motive, they all had reasons that they wanted to throw things off. But I guess the part that, some of the things just really surprised me that, they went back to even talking about the security footage that was at the park, I don't know, whatever, the Forest Park Reserve or whatever footage that night that had taken pictures of Ashley, and the person that had sent those photos to Ashley, blackmailing her, and the person that was calling Nick on the phone. All of those were little details that I have forgotten about. I mean, it's been since the summer. I was wearing freaking tank tops when all that was going on. Now there's 2 inches of snow outside. I didn't remember any of that crap. And now Ronan's bringing it back up. I really did feel like, Lionel was like, okay, we gotta get on this. Last week I said, I just want to know exactly what happened in chronological order. And that is kind of pretty much what they decided to give us. But just all of those little details were things that I had forgotten about, and I'm glad that they wrapped him up. Pretty much the answer to all of those little miscellaneous details were either Deacon did it or Patty did it, and some for various reasons, which again, very annoying, but at this point I just want it to be done, so I was glad. A lot of the little details were Deacon. I think it's kind of looking like the pictures that went to Ashley and the phone calls that went to Nick. I think it's being implied that those would have had to have been Patty, but pretty much, Deacon was the one that went around tampering with the evidence. He went and, gathered all of the evidence that was around the area and he hid it. And I thought one of the most striking revelations that came from all of this, everybody sitting in the room together and Deacon there too, was that Deacon was asked by Diane to film all of that. So, which does make sense. I mean, Diane obviously before she died sent out that text message to everybody and to some extent wanted to implicate everyone, in something. She wanted to have one last something, Diane knew that she was planning to stage her own death. That was the point. She went to the park so that she could stage her own death and blame it on Victor. But I think that part was Adam's plan. I think Diane wanted to just implicate everybody, all of her enemies, which is why she called them all there. And at various stages, she created, evidence against all of them. And she asked Deacon to be there to film it, which does make sense. And Deacon, while he was, filming everything that was going on with Nikki, he saw what was happening, that Diane was attacking Nikki, and Deacon put down the camera, ran over into frame, and tried to help the situation. Didn't want Diane to die, didn't want this to result in some sort of, injury for either Nikki or Diane, but it was too late by the time he got there. Nikki had already killed Diane. And the really gruesome thing that I hope I forget it because it kind of is gonna stick with me. This is the worst part. Okay, it does suck that Nikki killed Diane, but Deacon goes over there, sees that Nikki killed Diane, and because he wants to protect Nikki, Deacon takes the rock and bashes Diane over the head with it a couple more times just to try to make it look like someone stronger than Nikki had to have done it. The sheer, trauma, the blunt force of the rock would not have been something that Nikki would have been able to do by herself. So that was sort of Deacon's plan to get Nikki out of what she had just done. And just the idea, like Deacon said, by the time I got over there, she was already dead, which, I mean, I hope so. It didn't look like a whole lot of time had elapsed, but I hope so that she was already dead. But it just something about that just makes me want to cringe. Just the idea of Deacon smashing in a dead skull. I mean, he had slept with her too. I mean, that must be how much he loves Nikki. He had slept with Diane, so obviously this is someone, he had some kind of connection with, and she's dead, and he decides to smash her over the head a couple more times. Just that alone was wow to me. And it was Deacon that decided to push her body into the creek, and after he did that, that's when he ran around and grabbed all of the evidence, including the camera that was videotaping Ashley at the park that night, and he hid it. He hid it in that alleyway that's, I think, behind Glowworm. And what do you know, it's the same alleyway that Patty's been hanging around with in quite a bit. And, that's when Deacon said, I hid all this evidence, but then it got stolen. Someone else had it. And that's when Ronan and the DA and Paul, to an extent, have started to realize that there is another person involved. There's some other mystery person at this point. But still, even with Deacon's revelation, the DA has a grudge to hold. He had to let Victor off the hook, which he didn't want to do, and he wanted to charge somebody with something. So if he made this ultimatum where everybody's there. Ashley and Tucker and Abby and Victoria and Nick and Victor and Nikki and Jack even. I mean, everybody who was involved was there. And the DA just says, you know what, I'm going to arrest you all for obstruction. They all get arrested. Like, that had to have been one of, the only times that's happened. I mean, it was like a mass arrest of everyone in Genoa City, practically all the characters on the show. And he puts them into these separate holding cells by gender. He puts the women into one holding cell, the men into another holding cell, and they have one of those one-way mirrors. Is that right? Two-way mirrors? I don't know what they are, but basically, so that the people on the inside only saw a mirror, but Ronan and the DA were looking in and observing them and kind of hoping that they would talk things out and reveal some more information. Oh yeah, and Adam was there too. Adam was freaking hilarious the entire time, just throughout the whole reveal when Ronan was talking about the pillows and, just everybody, of course, is accusing Adam. Adam's the most obvious suspect. He was close with Diane, he was already plotting with her, and he's the most devious person in Genoa City. So everybody's trying to point the finger at him, and Adam's just like, oh yes, that's clearly I'm the one. Just his little quips are funny. Just Adam is funny to me. I like him. He's gotta be, he's just gone from zero to hero for me. Was my most hated character on the show a couple years ago, and now he's my absolute favorite. He was so funny. And then over on the women's side, I thought that Abby was really funny while she was being held. She's like, I don't like, I need to pretend like I'm doing yoga to calm myself down, and like, this is bad for my hair being in the cell. And she's just such a spoiled brat, and it was so funny. And it was good to see her back this week. This is her first week back on the show since Marcy Ryland gave birth, and it was nice to see her. She was like extra enthusiastic and very, very funny, and I honestly, I don't know which side was more bitchy. There was a lot of bitchiness going on with the women all together, some kind of ganging up on Phyllis for a while, ganging up on Nikki for a while, just, all of the girls going at each other, or, but then again, on the men's side, there was a lot of bitchiness going on over there too. It was like Adam and Tucker and Victor and Nick, and, of course, Victor said something to Adam like, you don't care about anyone, and Adam says, I care about your wife. And then Nick just freaks out and tries to lunge at Adam. I mean, there was just so much drama on the inside of both of those cells, and ultimately everyone got arraigned and everyone got set free. And the interesting little piece, I mean, we're slowly, it's starting to, you know, lead toward our capturing of Patty, our understanding of how Patty fit in to the scenario of Diane's death. And pretty much it was probably just that she wanted to have revenge on people. I mean, whatever, Patty didn't kill Diane, she just wanted to, I guess, torture some of her former enemies in Genoa City, but we're slowly leading toward that. The piece of the puzzle that I still think is very interesting, and I really don't know how to put my finger on, is we saw Abby sitting in the cell, and she was flashing back to her night after Diane's murder, and she comes back to her house or hotel room or wherever she was, I think her bedroom, and she is dusty and dirty and muddy, and she's starting, you know, through her haze of drunkenness from that night, she wakes up and she realizes that she's got mud and dirt on her pants and doesn't know how it got there. Now at the time, that wasn't any different than anybody else. I mean, Ashley came home the next day with a leaf in her hair, Tucker had poison ivy or poison sumac or whatever it was. So at the time, that just didn't seem, it didn't seem more unusual than anybody else. I thought it was just implicating that, you know, Ashley was there at the park and she struggled with Diane. But there's something more to it because, number one, we saw the flashback, and then we saw Abby kind of telling everybody, all the girls in the cell, like, hey, I remember that I was muddy. And all the girls write it off. All the girls are like, oh, it was muddy there that night, just, you know, it's probably no big deal. But after Abby got arraigned, she's out in getting ready to leave the police station, and as she's coming out, Deacon's kind of coming in, and they sort of cross paths, and Deacon says something to her, basically, like he's been saying to everybody the whole time since he's gotten into this storyline. He says something like, well, aren't you glad that your secret is safe so far? You know, good thing your secret hasn't come out yet, or something like that, just implying, you know, like, I know more than I'm letting on about whatever it was that you did. So I've been racking my brain about this. I was thinking about it all last night. What is Abby's secret? You know, I mean, I feel like the one piece that they didn't really tie up, what, you know, in Deacon's explanation of everything, was the key. You know, I mean, Diane supposedly had that key to a lockbox where Abby's videotaped confession to hitting Tucker with her car was supposed to be, and they didn't really talk about why that was in her throat. I mean, at the time, I thought, well, I guess that just, the implication is that Deacon did it. I guess Deacon just found it and did it, and I don't know. But I'm just kind of wondering if is that playing in? Is that part of it now? I mean, what is there that's more to Abby's story, and does the key have anything to do with it? I don't have any theories. I'm really curious to know what your theories are, so why don't you guys leave me a message and let me know what you make of that. Well, it was really no big surprise this week that Genevieve and her holding company, FMN, were the ones that ended up acquiring Beauty of Nature through Adam's sale. And that part was just obvious, I think, for the last couple of months. The part that to me was not obvious was the fact that Genevieve was on the board the entire time when she was at Newman. I mean, a couple of you have called it, and you mentioned it to me, when the board seats came up for grabs at Newman. There was one shady company that we didn't really know, you know, we heard had acquired a board seat at Newman, but we didn't really know how that played in, and I just assumed that the writers forgot about it. But it turns out that one of those guys that was sitting on the board the entire time was in Genevieve's pocket. He was a front man for her. He was just kind of like her proxy. And so that entire time, while they were making votes on things, that guy was voting on Genevieve's behalf. So she's been on the in at Newman the entire time that she's been working at Jabot. So say what you want about this woman. She's very cunning. She's very rich. And she is very well able to see opportunities that are coming down the pike. So I was very, very impressed to learn that about her. I feel bad for her because she is having a really hard time telling Jack the truth. She just outbid him. I mean, Beauty of Nature was Jack's dream. He wanted to buy up that company so that he could combine it with Jabot and finally make Daddy proud. And unfortunately, his new wife-to-be just got in the way of his plans. And Genevieve feels very, very guilty about this. I think part of her maybe almost didn't even want to win the bid, but she kind of felt like she had to. I mean, honestly, I feel like the only thing that Genevieve is really, I think it completely explains why she bought it. I mean, she just had the opportunity. I don't think it was about stepping on Jack's dreams in any way. And I don't know that Jack really had a whole heck of a lot to do with it now that this part has been revealed. I kind of think Genevieve just simply had the opportunity. It was a good idea. It was a good business deal. And so she took it. And so now I think she's struggling with, when do I tell Jack? How do I tell Jack? I don't want Jack to feel like I did this to undermine him. And so it's really, really causing her some stress. And she had a really, really good conversation with Lily this week, who is actually going to be her maid of honor in her wedding to Jack that's supposed to be happening like tomorrow in Genoa, or today in Genoa City time, probably next week in our time. And, you know, she was just chatting with Lily about how her relationship with Colin was such a whirlwind. She was just this young tourist in Australia, or probably studying abroad, and she meets this older, rich, powerful man. She gets sucked up into his world. They get married very quickly. It doesn't sound like they had very much of a courtship at all. She didn't even sound like she had a traditional wedding. And her entire relationship with Colin was defined by him and his business. You know, it was never about her as an individual. She always felt like she was subservient to him. And now she's in a relationship with Jack where she actually feels like an equal. And she, I think, is so thrilled by this prospect. You know, it's totally new to her to be in a relationship where she's seen as an equal. And now she's making these really bold business decisions. And I think she's struggling back and forth between wanting to be that bold businesswoman and kind of, you know, her past of being a, you know, more of a passive wife, you know, just kind of being there to support her husband. It's like, I think she's clearly at a crossroads of, you know, letting go of the old Genevieve, the old ways of life, and coming into understanding who she is as this new Genevieve. And I feel bad for her. I kind of wish that she would just tell Jack. I wish she would just get it off her chest. You know, there's got to be a way to spin this to where he can understand it. You know, he's still, you know, I mean, there's potential still with her owning it for him to have deals with Beauty of Nature. So it's a good thing. I mean, there's got to be, I would focus less on the fact that, you know, she hasn't told him yet, and I would focus on, hey, guess what? I got it for you. I mean, because who knows, if Genevieve hadn't placed a bid, somebody else could have outbid Jack. So it's not as if she immediately intentionally undercut him or overcut him in a way. So I think that she should spin it into a positive, and I think that would, you know, possibly help her relationship with Jack. I mean, of course, Victor is really, really not happy about the fact that Beauty of Nature is now gone. I'm sure when Victoria finds out about it, she's going to be really ticked off too. But Victor has already demanded to have a meeting with the owner of FMN. And although Genevieve tried to put off the process, she went and had to have a meeting with Victor and reveal that it was her, you know, reveal that she was the one that bought it. And Victor tried to get her to combine, or no, he said, I want to encourage you to keep Beauty of Nature under the Newman umbrella, which I don't know how that would benefit her in any way, shape, or form, but apparently Victor just thinks that his sheer presence should be a beneficial business move for her. But Genevieve is like, you know, I haven't even had a chance to think about what I'm going to do with this company, so no, I'm going to turn you down for now, but, you know, we'll see. They left it on kind of a positive note, but the second Genevieve was out the door, Victor was on the phone with Michael, telling him that he wants to have all of the background information he can get on Genevieve. And the scary thing is, if Victor's able to get that information and give it to Jack before Genevieve has a chance to tell Jack, because the wedding is coming and it is such a Victor move to approach Jack on his wedding day and just spill this huge tea about Jack's bride-to-be and potentially ruin the wedding day. Well, I guess that is if Patty doesn't ruin it first. So Myrna has been avoiding the cops for as long as she possibly can, and her time has run out. There's no more excuses that she can make. Both Ronan and Paul have been hired by Genevieve to get to the bottom of all of these strange little things that have been happening in her house, and they've been trying to get a hold of Myrna for weeks to get her comment on it, and every time they do, Myrna dodges it. Well, finally, Genevieve tries to send Paul over to the house to come face to face with Myrna and question her, and that's when Patty realizes she has to leave. She has to get out of there. She packs one little bag and her kitty cross stitch, and she gets the heck out of there and heads back to the potting shed on the Newman Ranch, where she's going to finalize her plans of revenge on Genevieve and her ways to stop Jack's wedding. But before that, Paul ends up getting to Genevieve's house, realizes that Myrna isn't there, and Genevieve's like, yeah, I don't know where she could have been. It looks like she's taken all of her stuff and left. So Paul goes up into Myrna's bedroom, and Genevieve gives him permission to take a look at her laptop. So Paul grabs a laptop, starts snooping around on it, and realizes that there's evidence on it from Diane's murder case, and starts to put two and two together that conveniently Myrna is the missing person who has the missing information in the Diane Jenkins murder case. So she's got videos on there of the security footage from the park on that night, and it starts to become very clear that she's a suspect. So Paul is alert to that. He's just not alert to the fact that it's his sister. Every time I see Paul, it's like, oh, I just feel so bad for Paul. You know, he deserves so much better. He's got this crazy sister, his dud daughter, and his evil son, and I just think, God, Paul deserves so much better than he's getting right now. And by the way, just totally on a side note, is Ricky the new Adam or what? Because Paul finds that laptop, wants to get information off of it, and Ricky sees it, asks Paul what's up. Paul's not going to tell him. Why would Paul tell him information about this case? And Ricky goes and like downloads the information off of Patty's computer without Paul looking. It's just very, very sneaky. Ricky has a very sneaky side to him. In fact, I think that's the dominant side. Ricky's a creep. So we'll see how that plays in. I don't know if maybe Paul is, working on finding out Myrna's connection to Diane's murder case, and maybe Ricky will go through, find some other evidence that will connect the dots and show that it is actually Patty. I don't know if that's where it's going, but we'll see. I mean, we also know, I think we can pretty much see coming, that the other brother, the priest brother, Paul's priest brother, it's Corbin Bernstein. I can't think of the character's name, but he's gonna, I'm sure, be coming in to marry Genevieve and Jack, and so he's gonna be back on the scene too, so he may play a role in recognizing Patty at the wedding. Who knows? But I just, Patty is totally over the edge. Here we are, back again to the crazy Patty storyline. I just kind of wish that we could like bring Patty's crazy level down a few notches and keep her around, because she is entertaining. She's just such, I feel so bad for Patty. She's such a tortured soul. She's got a real sweet side to her, but she's got this intense anger too, and I wish we could balance her out with some meds or something and keep her around. Like, I would love to have a cross between Emily and Patty, somewhere in the middle, not quite to Crazy Town, but not quite to boring Shrinksville either, just somewhere right in the middle. That would be really nice. But it's odd that Patty has such an easy time putting on the Emily persona. She actually decides this week that there's only one more thing that she's possibly going to be able to do to stop Jack's wedding, and that is to become Emily. And it's almost frightening how normal she's able to make herself sound. In any other situation, any other scene, Patty is off her freaking rocker, and whenever she puts on the Emily persona, she's just totally cool and calm, almost socio in how cool and calm she is. And it's just, I don't know, it's weird. But Patty puts on their persona of Emily this week, and she decides to go to Jack and plead her love, plead her case to him, and tell him, you know, you can't marry Genevieve because I'm still in love with you. We never really finished our relationship, and just anything. I mean, this is Patty's last ditch effort, and, you know, here's Jack's like shocked. You know, I mean, he's heard nothing from Emily for forever, and now all of a sudden, a couple of hours before his wedding, she's here telling him don't marry Genevieve, which is not even at all really like Emily. Emily's very cold, and she seems to have had no further contact with Jack, save for maybe once. So it's just crazy to me that Jack has not been able to see this coming, especially considering that he knows that Patty is on the loose. But he turned quote-unquote Emily down, sent her packing, and pretty much the second Emily walked out the door, Patty persona, you know, the Patty, it's like split personality, the Patty personality comes back and is just sheer enraged, just anger. She goes back to the potting shed, she's crying and whining, and she reaches into her little duffel bag and pulls out a pistol, all the while saying that she's not going to let Jack marry Genevieve. So I think we can pretty much be expecting like the scene next week where Genevieve's like, I'm like probably going and getting her hair done for her wedding day and her makeup done. She's gonna probably be walking out of the salon, and then all of a sudden we're gonna see a leathery black glove come out and like grab her over the mouth and pull her back, and a gun to her head. And I don't know, is there any way that this is not gonna lead to a kidnapping? Well, just one final little storyline I have to comment on is what's going on with Jeff. I'm ready to dive into this. I want to know what the heck's going on. I mean, when he was discovered by Kevin and Angelina at the cabin, he knew what was going on. He recognized Kevin's face. Kevin mentioned that Gloria thought that he left her, and Jeff was like, I would never. Now, all of a sudden, we're seeing scenes of him hitching a ride with a trucker and kind of acting like he doesn't know even who he is. And then all of a sudden he gets into Genoa City, he's sitting at the coffee house having a sandwich, runs into Jill, and is pretending like he doesn't know her, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know Gloria. Where did this amnesia coming from? Is it coming from? And is it for real? That's my question. I mean, Jill doesn't believe him at first, thinks, oh, he's just faking it to try to get away with the fact that he ditched town, took all of Gloria's money, left her high and dry. So Jill decides to take him over to the athletic club where she magically knew Gloria would be, and Jeff sees Gloria sitting there with Angelo and just acts like it's, you know, he's never seen her before. And luckily Gloria didn't see him, or that would have broke her little heart. I mean, she's trying very hard to move on with Angelo, and Jeff is just totally oblivious, totally clueless. And I'm so curious to know what you guys are thinking about this. Is Jeff being for real? Does Jeff actually have amnesia, or is he just doing this maybe as part of his plan to get Gloria back? Could he be pretending to have amnesia so that Angelo and or Gloria don't see him as a threat, so he can start to worm his way back into her life? I mean, he's got a giant head wound, so he obviously is making it look like he's been hit on the head, which I don't know if it was Kevin that did that, or if that was left over from whatever Angelo did. But I don't know how you don't have amnesia one day and you have it the next day. So I don't know. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys are thinking about that, because I mean, if his cover hasn't been blown already, it's gonna be blown as soon as Kevin and Angelina get off the island. They have successfully made themselves a raft, and they are going to raft their way to safety. And when they get back into town, they're gonna see Jeff, and they're gonna know that he was perfectly fine a couple of days ago. So I don't know. That's a head scratcher. We'll have to see how that one pans out. But leave me your comments. Let me know what you think. Okay, well, that's gonna do it for me for this time. I hope you guys had an awesome week. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the sex. You know, oddly, ironically, the people who you would have really expected to have sex this week didn't. Phyllis and Nick. Phyllis and Nick had another nice little family night. Phyllis came over to drop Summer off, and Nick was there with Faith, and they decided they were gonna, you know, watch a movie, have some popcorn, play some video games, and Phyllis and Nick wound up on the couch together playing video games, which is their, like, classic, patented move. That's their patented foreplay, video games, and yet they didn't do it. They didn't have sex. And I thought it was really good because instead they had a conversation that needed to happen. Phyllis pretty much said to Nick, you know what? This is what we always do. We fight, we make up, we have sex. Those three things we have no problem with. It's all of the other stuff in between that we need to work on. So, I mean, both of them kind of agreed that something needs to change. In order for their relationship to actually work out this time, something needs to change, and I couldn't agree more. What do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Totally looking forward to reading your comments this week, so go ahead and leave them. Let me know what you're thinking, what your opinions are, and I'll be excited to read them and respond to them. And I'll be looking forward to next week. It should be a good show. I am totally, obviously, still compelled by everything that Adam does, every step that he takes, every breath that he takes, every quip that he utters. And I'm really looking forward to coming back and chatting with you guys about all of that next week. So you guys, take care. Have a really good one. I love ya, and I'll see you next time. Bye!